experience that for, again, those that are in Tucson. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get going here today. So, first of all, thank you all for joining me tonight. One of my personal values is meaningful work. And one of the things I love doing most is educating our community and transferring knowledge and wisdom and experience that I've gained over the 25 years of working with people clinically. And this is one avenue that we're able to do that with people. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity and really thankful that you guys are here with me so that we can discuss some really important information tonight. So tonight's lecture is Natural and Permanent Weight Loss Solution. One of my favorite topics and favorite classes because it really gets to the foundational issue a lot of people have. So for those of you that are already practice members of Lifeline Wellness Center, or those that are not, or if you know somebody that could really benefit from tonight's information, definitely feel free to send them our way. We would love to serve them. And the reason I chose this topic tonight and this particular kind of title, I guess is a good way to put it, is a lot of people can lose weight, right? Frankly, if someone were to just drink celery water and eat a few Brussels sprouts every day, everybody would lose weight. There's no question about it. However, it's not sustainable, right? So someone's not going to do that their whole life. So it doesn't become a permanent solution. And the other flip side of that is there's lots of stimulants that we can inject in our body. There's some stimulants we can take orally that will speed up our metabolism and artificially create a scenario where our body will temporarily lose weight. But it's also not natural, right? So it's an artificial change. It's not really your body working like it's intended to. So it's two of the kind of major issues we like to deal with in the office, because it gets at the root cause of really why people suffer with weight loss issues. So hold on tight. We're going to cover a lot of great information today. So the first slide, I just want to introduce myself. My name, as I mentioned, is Dr. Chris Cox. I'm a chiropractor here at Lifeline Wellness Center, and I've been working with nutrition for over 25 years. So with thousands of patients clinically, but I've also had a lot of personal ups and downs. So you're seeing one of the rare photos that I allowed to be taken of me at near my heaviest. So that was back in 2008, which is hard to believe. That was 20 plus years ago now. I weighed about 250 pounds at that point. My heaviest was about 260 pounds. And then some things finally clicked for me. I got some things figured out, and literally 2 years later, I was down at about 190 pounds. And that's where I've basically resided for about the last decade. So, so I know what it's like to really struggle with weight loss and to try everything and try the gimmicks and know how it feels to carry extra weight around and everything that kind of goes along with that. That the little girl in that photo with me is my daughter. She is now 16, and so it's a little bit of a reality check that although I don't feel 20 years older, I certainly am. So interesting, but it's a good memory. I remember that day very well, her birthday. So lots of ups and downs, and I like to kind of bring that up because it gives me a different perspective on weight loss and really understanding the challenges that people go through. Someone who's never really struggled with weight loss, I find sometimes has a difficult time really knowing those struggles. Not that someone who can't be empathetic and have compassion. However, going through yourself definitely gives you a different perspective. So I like to use that to help people. I'm also a husband and a father, so I have 4 teenagers at home. So I know what it's like making nutrition changes with a partner or a spouse, and with kids at home. Those are not easy things to change also. So there's struggles there, and there's challenges, and being able to navigate them successfully adds a lot of experience and what we like to refer to as kind of like life hacks or weight loss hacks that can just leapfrog people through success. And then collectively, our team here at Lifeline Wellness Center, the doctors and our metabolic coaches have lost collectively over 200 pounds. And actually closer to 250 pounds. So, so you're working with a team that really knows and understands weight loss and really a lot of the challenges that kind of go along with it. I don't just speak to you clinically regarding my experiences and advice and stuff like that, but I speak to you as a person who has been in similar shoes, struggled with weight loss for years, and then has figured things out. So let's kind of get started tonight. What I want everybody to do is just start by imagining living, 70, 80, 90 years of quality life, right? The type of life that we really kind of all imagine when we're younger, which usually is very healthy, right? It's a life full of vitality, it's high energy, being active, successfully raising healthy children that are healthy and playing with grandchildren and stuff like that. And really thinking about what our quality of life really looks like. Are we able to retire comfortably? Are we enjoy vacations on the beach, right? Are we able to travel and experience things and take adventures that require us to be physically fit and stuff like that? And basically not spending thousands and thousands of dollars on medical debt and medications and all that. I mean, the average person on Medicare is on between 12 and 17 different medications, which is just astounding and so unbelievably expensive. So the first thing to ask is, do you think that life is possible, right? Are you worthy of that type of life? And what does it mean to you to have something like that? A lot of times I think we can sabotage ourselves by thinking we're not worth that isn't us, or that's not something that is for us. And that's just simply not true. But there's an important kind of mental emotional piece to examine as we start to lose weight also. So the next question to really ask yourself is, are you making the necessary investments in your health and resources to actually get you there? The whole idea of living however we choose to live for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and then expecting to have a very specific quality of life, but not having spent the time, effort, energy, and resources to make that happen. Many times it's just simply too late. And I know that from personal experience as a doctor that I meet with people every week that just had wished somebody had told them, 20 years ago that they needed to change things, and they need to change them now because they can't wait till they want it to make the changes. So those are things that have to be done early in life. So are you making the changes, taking the actions necessary to generate the outcome that you really want 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever that might be? So in order to realize these particular dreams or these envision or these visions we have for ourselves, we actually might have to answer one question first, and that's what is our greatest asset? And in my opinion, and many people I work with, the simple answer is your health. And I think in times, especially now with COVID-19 and all that kind of stuff, this has become really abundantly clear. Without your health, nothing matters, period. If once we have lost our health, and let's just even take a common cold, like life ceases to exist, right? We kind of joke about, man colds or the man flu or something like that. But the reality is when we're sick, we spend all of our time and mental energy and resources figuring out how to feel better again. So really getting clear that our greatest asset is our health. And once you lose that, nothing else really matters, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have if you've got terrible, horrible health, because you can't enjoy anything without great health. So how we're going to spend our time tonight is really digging in and talking about really what's occurring regarding health and well-being, what you really need to know. And for me, I'm not going to dance around the subject. So I want you to know that the conversation we're going to have tonight is going to be direct. But it's also going to come from a place of compassion and that I really truly do want what's best for the people we work with. So our clinic vision, our clinic mission statement, our purpose statement is to help people align their lives to express their greatness. My personal purpose statement is unlocking human potential. And in order for us to be and create and show up in life as the mother or the father or the grandmother or grandfather, whatever it might be that we want to be, we have to have great health. So it starts with that foundation. So everything we'll talk about tonight, I want to make sure you know that the place I'm coming from is I really want what's best for you. And I need to convey some of the information and knowledge that I've gained over 25 years and thousands of patients of how to do that. So as we get started, there's a few key questions I want to discuss over the next few minutes. And number one is just a simple context, right? First, if we do what everyone else is doing, right, well, what do we get? Well, we get exactly what they have, right? I mean, it's kind of related to the definition of insanity, right? If we keep doing what we've always done, would we expect to get a different result? Well, of course not. We're going to get what we already have if we just keep doing what we've been doing, right? So when we look at countries around the world, where do you think the US is ranked regarding our health? Well, overall, we're actually ranked 37th out of 39 industrialized countries, and this is from the World Health Organization. Now, what I find interesting is that most people can't even name 36 other countries. So the thought that we're 37th out of 39 is like, wow, it's really, really low. Now, where do you think the US ranks in regards to spending on healthcare? Well, what we know is that we actually spend the most amount. In fact, we spend more on healthcare than the top 16 countries combined. So why? Right? And how can we possibly rank 36 or 37th out of 39 countries, yet spend more than the top 16 countries combined? My first question is why? You know what? That doesn't make sense. If we spend the most, shouldn't we actually be higher on that list? So what it tells me is what we're spending our money on, you know, how we're investing in health and well-being is clearly not producing a higher quality of life. It's that simple. So in essence, what we're doing isn't working, right? Well, what about drug consumption? Right? We actually take more drugs than all the other countries combined, not just 16 of them, all of them, right? We take in the US 75% of all the drugs in the world. Yet we only make up about 4% of the world's population. So when we really talk about having a drug problem in the United States, we do. And it's not cocaine and heroin and stuff like that. I mean, obviously those are problems, but the reality is we have a lot larger problem, and that is prescription medications. We are drowning ourselves in medications in the US. So how about these more questions, right? So if being healthy is the primary goal, maybe what we should ask is what actually is health, right? Well, what I find after asking this question for 25 years is a lot of times people answer back and say, well, it's the, you know, if I look healthy, if I'm the right weight or the right composition, or if I wake up in the morning and kind of give you the old stretch, oh, you know, feel pretty good, must be pretty healthy, right? Well, here's the problem with that, right? Is how we look or feel a good measure of our health? Well, the reality is no, right? And the top 3 killers in our country, in the US, are silent killers, right? So for example, what does cancer feel like growing, right? How about heart disease? You know, what's the first symptom of a heart disease or cardiovascular disease? Well, over 80% of the time, the first symptom is a heart attack. Right? How about diabetes? What does diabetes feels like as it progresses? You don't feel it, right? So all of these have no symptoms, right? So the point is this: disease processes are very slow and often do not create symptoms until they've progressed far enough to produce a health crisis, right? So this is you see this every day in the medical and healthcare community, in that people are healthy. Oh my God, I have a health crisis. And reality is that's not how your health works. You have often years of dysfunction without symptoms before a symptom finally shows up. So in fact, the World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So what does it have to say about symptoms? Nothing, right? I mean, health literally has nothing to do with how you feel, right? It's a picture of the whole person. So when we're making decisions about how healthy we are, we run into a very big problem if we're trying to make that determination based on how we feel, right? So it's one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give to people is don't judge your health on how you feel. It's an important piece of the puzzle, don't get me wrong. If doing all the things I do to be healthy made me feel terrible, I'm not interested, right? I want to feel good. But that's not the single determining factor of a point of health for somebody. All right, so the state of health in the U.S. Are some staggering stats. So 80% of the spending in healthcare in the U.S. is due to chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Most of these people are in or on the verge of something called metabolic syndrome. Now, 50% of the deaths in the U.S. are due to cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, right? So is any of this preventable? 100% absolutely. These are what's called lifestyle diseases. Now, what I want to get clear is on the role of genetics, and this is an important piece of this discussion. Do genetics have a role in your health? Yes, no question about it. However, in my experience and everything that I've read about this, about epigenetics and all the study of this, we may have a genetic predisposition for a particular state of physiology in our bodies. However, the only reason that genetic code is expressed is if the environment is stressful enough to create the expression of that gene. So if the environment never exists, the gene is never expressed, right? So so simply put, it's you have to create the environment, or you have a lot of control over the expression of your genetic code. And what's also really cool, our body is so incredibly smart that we've got these little repair molecules that actually go along the DNA strand, and they recognize then when genes are turned on that should be off, and they turn them off. Now, what's important to understand is if the environment doesn't change, that gene turns right back on again. So the key is that you have to change the environment to change that genetic expression, and that absolutely can be done, and that is something that's within your control. So just because everybody in your family has had a heart disease or has diabetes or has had a particular type of cancer, that doesn't mean you do. Right? You have a lot of control over your environment, and you can control the expression of those genes. So don't give up that control. That's something you can do. You don't have to just live out the genetic role of your family. That's not how it works. Now, the number one cause of bankruptcy is medical debt, and 79% of those cases were actually insured. So it's medical debt, and medicine is so unbelievably expensive. And I think for most people, from the conversations I've had, people would prefer not to have drugs and surgery. They would prefer their bodies just to work great, right? So these disease processes are all pieces of something called the metabolic syndrome puzzle. So as we start to kind of look at this now, metabolic syndrome, many people have heard of metabolic syndrome. It's also known as Syndrome X, but a lot of people have actually never heard about it. So, so after our workshop tonight, I want to make sure that not only you'll know and understand metabolic syndrome, but you'll also know why we call it an epidemic, and you'll know exactly what to do to save yourself and your family from it. So you'll have very specific action steps. So tonight, we're going to take what is physiologically a very complex process and break it down in a way to empower you to take back control of your health and the health of your loved ones. Because simply put, your health is your responsibility, right? One of the most important lessons I learned early in practice, one of the important lessons I help students with is understanding that I, as a physician, am not responsible for my patient's health. They are responsible for it. It's my job to inform them and give them the knowledge that they need to make the right decisions for themselves. But it's not my responsibility. So education is a huge piece of the process when someone works with Life Aligned Wellness Center. I think if you look at the Latin root of doctor, it actually means educator or teacher. So we take that very seriously here and focus on really transferring as much knowledge as we can. Better knowledge means better decisions, means better outcomes. So that's that simple. All right, so what is metabolic syndrome? Well, it's a name that's applied to a group of risk factors that occur together and increase the chance of coronary artery disease or cardiovascular disease, stroke, cancers, and type 2 diabetes. So these are all things that when you look at these risk factors, they create this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, cancers, dementia, lipid problems like LDL and HDL issues and ratios, blood pressure issues, all those kinds of things. So what's easier, though, is if we look at how we develop these risk factors. And metabolic syndrome was actually identified about 20 years ago. And it's about as widespread as the common cold. It's very, very common. So in fact, nearly 1 out of 6 people have it. And literally the majority of Americans are on their way. So what's been reported, and now this is underreported, is that 40% of Americans over 50 have it. And again, that number is likely significantly lower than the true statistics. So in other words, we know for sure at least 40% of Americans over 50 have it, but likely that number is way higher. So, so again, metabolic syndrome is not technically classified as a disease, meaning there's not like a diagnosis code for metabolic syndrome. But it's described as a group of risk factors that cause disease, right? So not only disease, but reduced quality of life and premature death. So here are the primary risk factors for metabolic syndrome. Being overweight or a large waist size, right? So one of the ways we can measure that is through something called BMI, and it's basically called body mass index. And in most circumstances, it's a really, really accurate way to determine these risks. High triglycerides, which is the type of kind of fats that are in the blood, low HDL or good cholesterol, hypertension or blood pressure issues, and blood sugar problems. So this is, type 1, type 2 diabetes, stuff like that, primarily type 2. So those are the primary risk factors for generating metabolic syndrome. Now, why do these risk factors develop, right? Key concept here, it's not your genetics, right? It's unhealthy lifestyle factors that cause obesity, insulin resistance, and hormonal imbalances. As we talked about, it's not genetics, right? We know that when the body starts to dysfunction, these are the natural expressions of those effects. So all of those effects are created by unhealthy lifestyle factors. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure we talk about tonight is what I like to refer to as the black hole. And we often get caught in it. And for years, I kind of avoided this conversation with patients. And frankly, I avoided it because it's fairly confrontational. And after 25 years of working with people, and I've been telling the story now for probably 5 or 6 years at least, and it's just too important, because it's important to connect the dots so everybody really understands kind of really what's going on and how to think differently about it. It goes back to the fundamental things we were talking about early on in this webinar, and that so many people are continuing to make decisions with the same thought process. Like, we just need a new drug. We just need a new medication for this. Like, my God, we take more medications than the rest of the planet combined. Like, the solution is not just another drug. We literally have to change how we think and how we decision make regarding our health to generate a different outcome. So this black hole is what I see literally in the office every day. This is not like an occasional thing. It is literally every day. So it starts like this. So many people are fed up with feeling a particular way, and they go to the doctor, specifically medical doctor most often, or medical community. And how do they measure health? Well, simply they often do some sort of biometric testing, which is basically blood work, right? Now, getting these measurements, I think, is great. They're great metrics to give us some baseline information for people. But what's actually done with that information is really at the root of why we are in this particular situation in the US. So let me illustrate that with this kind of walking through this black hole example. So if, let's just say, a 30-year-old tests with elevated blood sugar in these blood tests, right? Well, what's actually done? Well, in the medical community, what's done is that they're often given meds to lower blood sugar. Now, it's important, right? Because high blood sugar can be very, very dangerous. It can cause a whole host of issues, right? But it doesn't actually get to the cause of elevated blood sugar, which is what? Diet and exercise, right? Which is lifestyle. So what we've done is we've taken a lifestyle issue and we've given this person a drug. Okay, so the drug has affected the blood sugar levels, but what's changed about the lifestyle? Nothing, right? The lifestyle is still the same, right? So let's fast forward, right? So we control this person's blood sugar with medications, right? So now what happens over the next 5 years? Is this person healthier or sicker? Are they on the same meds 5 years down the road or not? Well, I can tell you from 25 years of doing this, the answer is simply no. They're almost always taking more medications, and they're usually now complaining of being exhausted or tired, right? And that's not a symptom they were experiencing 5 years ago. So now, what do we have, right? We have a person who's on now more medication and diagnosed with hypothyroid. Right now, the liver converts what's called T3 to inactive thyroid or T4 and a whole bunch of cascade and hormones and all that kind of stuff. So it starts to affect the liver, and the liver also produces cholesterol. When it becomes dysfunctional, it throws the LDL and triglycerides and HDL ratios off, creating more problems, right? So what do we do, right? We've now got a thyroid issue, we've got a cholesterol issue. So what does the medical community do to fix the problem, right? Well, they give us more medications to override this physiology and force our blood levels within their normal ranges, right? So we've got a lifestyle, exercise, diet issue. We've now got blood sugar medications, we've got thyroid medications, we've got cholesterol medications, right? So what have we done about diet and exercise, all right? What have we done to the baseline physiology of this person? And what have we done to them biochemically, right? Well, we haven't changed anything in their diet and exercise. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody hasn't said, hey, you should lose some weight, or maybe you should exercise more, right? But what has done, and what the patient often is doing, is just taking medications. Right? So here's the reality, right? Again, what the cause of the problem all along has been lifestyle. Now, the longer we stay in this type of dysfunctional metabolism and we continue to treat blood tests and not the cause, we're further driving your physiology into this metabolic black hole. Right? Now, fast forward this person to 50, 20 years down the road, we're now in such a deep hole that you can medicate through the symptoms, right? Well, there's a medication for every symptom out there, but your body has simply stopped working properly, all right? Now, as I said, here's the reality check on this whole thing. If you think that you're just fine and in great shape and healthy because you're prescribed meds to control your type 2 diabetes and cholesterol and high blood pressure and all this stuff, right? That you've medicated your blood into a particular range that has been deemed healthy, right? The reality is you are not healthy. You are simply in a deteriorating state into a metabolic black hole, and your body is severely dysfunctioning while your blood tests are normal, in the normal ranges. And in these situations, it is virtually impossible to get your metabolism functioning normally again, because in these cases, it's been dysfunctional for 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years. So the bottom line is so many people are not healthy enough to lose weight. They've got this chemical soup in their blood that has medicated their numbers into a normal range based on blood tests, but that doesn't mean their physiology is normal. The body is not working properly. It is that simple, yet extraordinarily complex for each particular person. So Now, the cost of having metabolic syndrome, right? The average annual cost per patient with metabolic syndrome is over $4,000 out of pocket expenses, right? So if you have these things, if you have this cholesterol issues and blood sugar issues and all that, you can just plan on spending at least $4,000 a year out of pocket just on all of those things. And that's just average, right? So it's 4.5 times, almost 4.5 times the average spent on the same age group. So what's interesting is this is lifestyle stuff, right? This is all stuff you have control over, right? So it's just by not controlling it, you're just saying, okay, well, I'm not going to control it, but I'm going to spend over $4,000 a year paying for it, right? So literally every $4 of every $10 spent is on prescription drugs for adults on treating the symptoms or the effects of metabolic syndrome. Now, this was shocking to me. I have, like I said, I have 4 teenagers at home. The New England Journal of Medicine recently reported that today's kids will likely be the first generation to actually live a shorter lifespan than their parents, right? So literally 40% or more of our kids are overweight. And this is purely lifestyle, right? This has nothing to do with genetics. You cannot see a change in the genetic human code in a generation. That doesn't happen. We are literally shortening our children's lifespan by allowing them to make lifestyle decisions that are causing obesity. Now, there's a peer-reviewed journal out there called The Lancet, and they did a great study, in my opinion, a great study that talked about and understood that obesity actually shortens lifespan. So, and this is based on BMI. If your BMI is elevated, if you're overweight to obese, you can expect your lifespan to be shortened by anywhere between 3 and 8 years, period. Like it's just an expected effect of some of the effects of metabolic syndrome. So what the article basically went on to say was that the bottom line is a culture, we're literally killing ourselves prematurely by the lifestyle changes that we're making for not only just ourselves, but for our children. So, and you can actually change that today, right? Like I said, this is a decision. This is something you have control over. Now, it's no secret to anybody that America is getting fatter. I mean, just look around. You know, I know we can't really go to the mall these days, but just look around. America is gaining weight exponentially. There's a chart here. This goes from 91 to 2010. So I realize the data on this chart is 10 years old. What hasn't been shown, or what's not on this chart but has been shown, is that you can see each breakdown of the graph. So in 91, and then from 93 to 95, there's a new color added. And then from 98 to 2000, there's a new color added. And from 2008 to 2010, there's another color added. And then from, actually the next one is 2015 to 18, there's 2 new colors added, which each new color is an additional range, a percentage of the population that's considered overweight. So if there was any question that obesity or being overweight or body composition, body fat was genetic, this completely proves that is false. You cannot change the genetic code of humans this quickly. It doesn't work that way. It is clearly 100% lifestyle, right? So you cannot change the human genome this fast. So Time magazine obviously has reported on this relative to metabolic syndrome and America being so significantly overweight that it literally is an epidemic. The fact is this: 72% of adults are overweight, 40% of children are overweight. And what I want to make clear, especially when we're talking about this particular topic, acceptance of ourselves and our own individual value, regardless of what anybody else thinks, is a critical part of being healthy. And continuing to reduce the years of our lives and the quality of life because of unhealthy lifestyle habits leading to obesity has got to change, right? So there's no judgment about the person who is carrying extra weight. And we have to understand that these are unhealthy lifestyle habits, and they have to be changed if we're going to expect a different quality of life and expect to be healthier and engage in relationships with our families and our friends the way that we want to, and to be healthy. So the causes of death, most common, over 50% of all deaths are obesity-related chronic diseases: diabetes, stroke, heart disease, and cancer. One of the major, and this is hugely a huge thing with COVID-19, is obesity is a major comorbidity. If you look consistently, the people who have passed away from COVID-19, majority of them have been obese. So it is a huge risk factor relevant to that also. The American Cancer Society has estimated that 1 out of every 3 cancer deaths in the US is linked to excess body weight, poor nutrition, and or physical inactivity. And these factors are all related and may contribute to cancer risk, but body weight seems to have the strongest evidence linking it to cancer. So literally body weight, or BMI, or composition, is the strongest evidence linking to increase in cancer. This is from the American Cancer Society. So we've created a disease rate faster than any, over the last 3 decades, than any other time in the US history. And again, sadly, it's due to our American lifestyle that isn't healthy. And simply, we're choosing to kill ourselves because of those choices. Now, how do we change this epidemic and take control, right? Well, as simply what we know is that how you look, feel, and act today is based on the decisions you previously made about your health care 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, right? So if you're happy with where things are at, congratulations. Like, awesome, you made some great decisions that aligned with your values and you stuck to them and generated the outcome you're looking for. If you don't like where things are at, you've got to make new decisions, right? To think that we're going to be able to do what we've already or always done or are still doing, and that we're just going to have to, just do something a little bit different, it doesn't work, right? Things are going to have to change to get a different outcome, and it goes back to that definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Yes, people do want to lose weight. People do want to lose body fat, want to change their composition, and you're going to have to do something different. It's not a choice. It's something that has to happen. Now, so what we do know is that we actually need a real solution. And after working with people for, like I said, 25 years, that's part of what I want to make sure you guys are aware of and have an opportunity later tonight to take advantage of if you choose to. And we'll talk more about that later. So having worked with people for so long, we have to think about this long term, right? If we're really looking at generating better health or better quality of life, that's not something that's done for 6 months. Right? That has to be a lifetime solution. There's got to be something that can solve this, not necessarily just in the short term, but forever, right? And that's part of what we want to talk about tonight. So there's another study out there called the EPIC study. This was 23,000 people. And what they found was participating in 4 behaviors, they generated massive change. So those 4 behaviors were not smoking, moderate exercise, a healthy BMI, which means under 30 was their definition, but frankly, lower is better, meaning it should be under 25, and eating a healthy diet, right? Now, when people did those in this study, they found that they had a 93% reduction of type 2 diabetes. That statistic alone, if nothing else happened, would change the face of healthcare in the United States. It is that simple, hands down. But on top of that, 81% of heart attacks would be prevented, 50% of strokes would be prevented, and 36% of all cancers would be prevented. I mean, that is such an incredible change to our healthcare system. I mean, you want to talk about shifting us from 37th out of 39 industrial countries. Oh my God, that would be a massive shift in that. So, and these are not difficult things to handle. All of these are lifestyle. None of those behaviors are genetically related. right? They're just simple lifestyle factors. Well, if it really is this easy, then why are we not all healthy, right? Well, this is my personal experience. There's 5 major reasons I think this happens, and some people have all of them. Some people just have a couple or one of them. But what I can tell you is that this is what I've learned, right? Number one, it might be because we don't make the choices that we know that we should make. For some reason, right, that's not happening, right? I would bet my children on the fact that everybody that's on this webinar actually knows one thing that they could be doing different right now that would actually help them be healthier. I'm certain of it, right? But we just choose not to do it, right? So number two thing, they're not sure what to do when we do decide to do something, right? Everybody, and me included, at some point gets to the end of the rope and is like, I give up. I'm not going to live this way anymore. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a change. And then it becomes, oh my God, what do I do? Well, if I read this article, it says this, but if I read this article, it says just the opposite of that. So I don't know what I do. And we call it paralysis by analysis. There's just too much information. And because of that, we don't know what to do. And therefore, we don't take any action. Right. Number three is unhealthy choices are often easier and cheaper. The fact is that you can go and get a pizza at Little Caesars for $5 when it costs, and feed a family of 3 or 4 or maybe 5 on that. And it costs almost the same for an organic head of broccoli, right? That would maybe be enough for 1 or 2 people, right? So it's cheaper, right? Our society has made it cheaper to eat this unhealthy food, and it's convenient, right? A lot of times we've just overscheduled and overcommitted, and we just don't have time, right? Oh well, I've got to take Jimmy and Sally to opposite ends of the town tonight to get to practices or whatever, rehearsals and whatever it might be, and we don't have time to eat healthy food, so we're just going to swing by McDonald's and grab something there. So those are common things that I hear. Number four, sometimes we tend to take care of others before ourselves, right? It's like, oh, well, let me make sure that my kids and my family have good stuff to eat. And, if there's something left over, then I'll eat. Or I've spent so much time taking care of everyone else, I don't have the energy to take care of myself. So, this is my reward. I'm gonna have something that's not healthy for me because I don't have the resources left to take care of myself. Excuse me. And number five is we don't have the support necessary to make the changes. Making these changes is easy, or is not easy. I can tell you that rarely do people do this alone. And having worked with people for years, I can tell you that when we have significant other or spouses at home, they tend to fall in a few different categories. Either we have partners that are super supportive and want to do the cooking for us and are going to be our cheerleaders and are going to be right along our side doing it with us, and that's wonderful. The other categories are fairly indifferent. They support you and they're like, yep, you can do it, just don't ask me to do it, right? And then the third is antagonistic, right? It's like, you're trying to make these changes and they're asking if you want to order pizza tonight, right? So the reality is you've got to figure out how to navigate those things, and you need help, right? So those are other reasons that people struggle. So what we do know is that in a clinically supervised process, a doctor-supervised process, people tend to get dramatically better life-changing results. Having the accountability there, having a doctor or a physician supervising the process, people do better. And that's part of why that's built into the Lifeline Wellness Center program. Now, what you need to know is that it's all about your metabolism, right? And often what we hear from people is that, well, why can my friend and I eat exactly the same thing, right? And he or she weighs 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds less than I do. And even if I eat less, I still gain weight, or I don't lose weight, right? Well, the bottom line, again, is it's not totally about the food that you're eating. It's important, right? But really it's about how you metabolize that food, right? Now, in order to actually lose weight or change your composition, lose body fat, you actually have to trigger your fat burning hormones, not just reducing or counting calories or points, right? You actually need to reset or restore a normal metabolism. right? Now, in order to trigger those fat-burning hormones or restore your metabolism, you actually need to have a liver that's functioning optimally. Now, our toxic state, meaning a lot of our lifestyle choices that we've made, actually prevents our liver from working properly, creating a bunch of hormonal imbalances. This particular state makes it really, really, really difficult for a person to actually lose weight. In other words, they're not healthy enough to lose weight. So you can reduce your caloric intake all you want, but if your liver's not functioning properly, you're not going to produce the hormones necessary to actually convert stored blood sugar or body fat into blood sugar so you can burn it again. So that's part of what the program is designed for, right? So we use what's called the Activate Metabolics program, and it's 4 parts. And the first piece is about science, right? So Stanford School of Medicine did a research study, and they showed that people that ate according to their genetic predisposition or genetic code lost 2.5 times more weight than those who didn't. So what it basically boils down to is not everybody's the same. Now, I think most people kind of get that, but the reality is that everybody's so very different. You have a very specific genetic makeup, and just because your friend can eat this way doesn't mean you can. And just because their metabolism is dialed in and perfect or whatever that is, doesn't mean yours is. Everybody's different. And that's part of why the genetic code or genetic testing is part of this particular program. So what the genetic testing gives us, and it's done with a cheek swab, so we don't have to draw blood or anything like that, is it actually gives us your breakdown of macronutrients. So you can see from the picture on this slide, this shows that this person should be consuming 20% of their calories should come from carbohydrates, 35% of their calories from protein, and 45% of their calories from fat. So once we have that information, simply put, you know what your genetic ratios are for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter what fat is going to show up in our culture. You know genetically what your ratios are. Now the key is then the application of that. How do you eat 45% of your calories in fat to fuel your body effectively? Well, we like to kind of look at these kind of like the different ratios or the macros, kind of like energy sources for your body. So think of one like solar energy and one of wind energy and one of water energy, right? So all of those are different sources, and you need energy from all 3, but you need them in the right ratios to fuel your body or power your body. So it's about learning how to use those different fuel systems to get the most out of your body. So that's part of what the DNA-based meal planning does. It actually helps you implement those particular percentages. We're also going to get information on a DNA-based exercise plan. So everybody's body muscularly is built a little differently. And the first thing is to know that moving your body is important. And if you're going to dedicate time to moving your body, doesn't it make sense to do it in the way that's most effective? Well, that's part of what this DNA-based exercise plan actually looks at, is based on your genetics, how should you be moving your body? And the extremes might be, really, really low intensity, but really long duration, or it might be really, really high intensity, but really, really short duration, or some mix in between, right? So all of those are determined based on your genetic code, and then helping you pick activities and things that you like to do, and doing them in a way that your body's going to respond most efficiently. We're also going to look at what's called body composition analysis on a regular basis. And the reason this is important is I tell people when they come in is that I know that if someone spent 24 hours with me, I can make sure that they were 10 pounds less than they are today. And the reality is they wouldn't lose actually 10 pounds of body fat. They'd actually lose 10 pounds of water, right? So we've all been there, including me, having gone to weigh-ins or something like that, and like starving yourself, and not eating anything and not drinking anything, and you show up and you get weighed in, and it's like, oh yeah, I lost a pound. It's like, well, no, you didn't. You just didn't eat anything all day, right? And then you eat, and then the next day you gain like 3 pounds, right? So what body composition analysis does when it's used on a regular interval is it makes sure that you're actually changing your composition. So we're going to look at things like body fat, we're going to look at hydration levels, we're going to look at muscular muscular weight, bone mass, metabolic age, all kinds of different metrics to make sure that we're actually seeing change in composition, not just change in weight. So really important piece of the puzzle, and it's something that we do on regular intervals with our practice members to make sure that they're progressing as we would expect. Now, the next piece of the Activate Metabolic program is strategic eating. And we focus primarily on what's called the Metabolic Booster Meal Plan, which is how we help your body actually heal. And it's focused on reduced calorie, low glycemic index foods, and anti-inflammatory foods. Part of the reason this is important is it actually helps your body heal, right? So the meal plan is coupled with intermittent fasting during certain phases. It's very engaging. People often tell us that they're not hungry, and it's extremely effective. Now, many people within the first 40 days, the first 6 weeks, will lose between 20 to 40 pounds of body fat. Not just weight, but actual body fat. So very empowering to see changes happen that quickly. So really, really effective, and more importantly, really, really, really healthy. So what we don't want to do is lose weight and lose health, right? We want to gain health and have our metabolism function like it's supposed to. And the natural byproduct of that is you'll change your body composition. So you'll include the Metabolic Booster Meal Plan. So this is going to have shopping lists and recipes and all that kind of stuff to help guide you through those different phases of making sure you know what type of foods you can eat and how to help fuel your family and that types of stuff. Now, the third thing is supplements or nutritional formulas that are part of the program. And there's basically 5 different supplements that go along with the program. This just happens to be a picture of 3 of them. So what I'd like to make sure that people understand with the metabolic program, the Activate Metabolics program, the reason a person's going to lose weight is not because of the supplements, right? The reason they lose weight is because of they're getting healthier. And that's what these supplements are designed to do. So the first 30 days of supplements are included in all of the programs, and they help control, one of the supplements helps control hunger and cravings. It helps stabilize blood sugar. It helps with detoxification, which has to do with liver function, right? We talked about how important that is. One is a natural vitamin B12, which helps with energy levels. One is a probiotic that helps with intestinal health. And then one helps with sufficient and ideal nutrient intake, which is kind of like a whole food multi and things like that. So it's designed to help round out all of the things you need to be healthy. The last piece of the program is support. And arguably, for me, this is one of the most important pieces of the program. Yes, the DNA piece is critical to providing a lifetime solution of how to fuel your body effectively. Strategic eating and understanding, intermittent fasting and the timing and combining of foods and all that is an important thing to understand and knowledge that you'll use the rest of your life. The supplements help facilitate this process and make it so much more effective. But support is where the magic happens. So every day you're going to be in contact with our center. And right now, we're just introducing an actual Activate Metabolics app that you use on your phone. You'll be able to communicate with the doctors and the metabolic coaches directly through the app. We're releasing that over the next couple of weeks, so super excited about it. I've seen it. I'm working through it now to make sure we have all the little bugs out and be able to answer all your questions, but meal planning and supplement tracking and all kinds of really cool stuff. So awesome feature. So you'll have that support on a regular basis by being in contact with our metabolic coach through the app, making sure that you're, highlighting the day of the program that you're on, your weight that particular day, and how you're feeling. So we want to be in touch and we want to know. We're there to answer questions. You're going to have regular success visits with our metabolic coaches or with the doctors. And that can either happen in person or it can happen virtually. So being able to collectively take between all the doctors and metabolic coaches over 40 years of experience dealing with metabolism and health and what works and what doesn't work and navigating families and spouses and holidays and all those things that we have to figure out how to deal with. that's the critical piece of the support, the guidance, the support, the advice, the help, someone who's standing for you to help make these changes, and frankly, someone who's been there and understands those challenges. So the support side of the program is a critical piece in my experience in helping people. So the offer that's available for you tonight, what I want to make sure that you know is that if this is the right time for permanent change for you, then you might want to consider taking advantage of the opportunity tonight. So whether it's you have the goal of like detoxing from the COVID-19, right? Or the quarantine 19 or the quarantine 15 or whatever amount it is that we've, collectively seen people gain because of the stress and the change in schedules and not being able to engage in normal activities. Maybe you just want to lose a few pounds, right? Like you've just been carrying this extra 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds and it's time to, it's time to get rid of it. Maybe you made a resolution when the year started and you just like forgot about it and you fell way off track, and it's time to like, this is the year I'm going to make the change. I'm not giving up and I'm not giving in. I'm gonna keep on this goal. Or maybe you just want to be ready for your trip, right? Maybe you've got a trip coming up, or maybe it's a family wedding or something like that, and you want to show up and be your best, right? Maybe you want to show up back at work. Maybe you've been working remotely, excuse me, and you want to show back up at work as the new you. Maybe it's like you show up and you're like, who's the new employee? Right? No, it's me. I'm just 40 pounds less than I was, right? So whatever it might be, these are the types of things that we love helping people with. So the gift tonight is this. Make sure you understand procrastination is the thief of health, right? I cannot count the conversations I have with people that they've said, I wish someone had told me, right? Every day a chronic problem exists, it becomes one step closer to being permanent. It's much more difficult to change the longer the problem has been there. So procrastination is absolutely the thief of health. So if you're ready to start your journey, right, that's where we want to help. So the next step is to schedule a one-on-one consultation with one of the doctors and our metabolic coaches. During that appointment, it can be done either in person or it can be done virtually now as well. So in that consultation, we're going to do, if you're in the office, we're going to do a body composition analysis, which is going to include measuring your body mass index. It's going to give us your body fat percentages, your hydration levels, your visceral fat, your metabolic age, meaning, has your metabolism slowed to that of a 90-year-old? Or is it, is your metabolism the same? Is it the same as your chronologic age, which would be great, or maybe younger? The last time I had my metabolic age tested, I was 27. I'm almost 50. So I have to consume a lot more calories because of my metabolic age is much faster than my actual chronologic age. So that's all part of the consultation. Now, the body comp analysis is only going to be done for in-person consultations. You're going to meet with a doctor. We're going to make some assessments. We're going to talk about your state of health. We're going to talk about the amount of weight that you need to lose to regain health, what we think it's going to take based on all our experience to help generate a healthy situation so you can accomplish your goals. We're going to do a complete health history, and then we're going to make very specific custom recommendations to meet your specific goals and really align with why it's important. I can tell you that people don't come in wanting to lose 20 pounds. They come in because they want to feel better about themselves. They want to have a better self-esteem. They want to fit in the clothes that they wanted to, that they can't fit in. They want to be able to sit and not worry about having a chair available that fits them, when they walk into a new place. That they don't want to have the negative health effects that their parents have. These are the reasons that people come in, and we really want to connect with that for people. It's not just about the 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds. It's really about what that extra weight is costing them. And we want to get really clear about what that is so we can help support you and empower you to make the changes necessary to meet the goals that you want to meet. Now, normally that consultation is $99. So if you call in and schedule that, that's how much the consultation costs. However, tonight only, it's going to be complimentary. Okay, so if you're already a practice member here, obviously you're already part of the program, you're already on it, that doesn't mean anything. However, if you want to pass this opportunity off tonight to somebody that you know, you can do that. For those of you who are not practice members currently at Lifeline Wellness Center, you can absolutely take advantage of this. Now, this is tonight only, so here's how you take advantage of this offer. You have to go to our website, which is lifealignedwellness.com. Okay, lifealignedwellness.com. When you go there, you're going to click on the Schedule Now button. It's in the top right corner. Okay? When you click on that, it's going to take you to a screen, and you're going to select the type of appointment that you'd like. Right now, there's going to be 6 different types of appointment there. The first 2, I think, are chiropractic appointments. The second 2 are DNA-based weight loss appointments, and the last grouping, or the 5th and 6th one, are regenerative stem cell medicine therapy appointments. So you want the DNA-based weight loss, and you need to select either in-person consultation or virtual consultation. Right? Once you select that, you're going to get a live picture of our schedule, and you're going to be able to pick the times that are still available for those particular types of appointments. First come, first serve, real simple. So go ahead and pick your time, fill out your information, and here's the key. You're going to have to enter a discount code, and if you type webinar in there, it's going to take away the fee. Right? So you won't have to pay the fee to schedule your appointment. So you have to type in webinar, the words webinar, to get the discount. Now that's only going to be available till 12 o'clock midnight tonight. So if you want to do that and you want to take advantage of that, the complimentary consultation, you have to do that tonight before midnight, and you have to enter webinar. Don't forget webinar. So if you remember that, great. If it's someone that you're thinking of that really needs to be here as well, then you can pass that code to them, and they can take advantage of scheduling that also. Now, until then, I want to give those of you who are ready to take the next step, I want to give you an assignment. So between now and your consultation, I want you to do 2 things. One is I'd like you to start reducing your caffeine. Right? Caffeine is a very, very big stressor on the adrenal system and can stress the liver and detoxification system. So I want you to consider reducing or eliminating caffeine. Number 2 is I want you to try intermittent fasting for 16 hours. Now you can pick the 16 hours. Now what that means is you have an 8-hour eating window. So that can mean you can eat from 9 to 5 and don't eat from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. Or it could be from noon to 8. So you don't eat from 8 p.m. to noon the next day, but 16 hours of fasting. So those are the 2 things, 2 assignments. One, reduce or eliminate caffeine. And I want you to try intermittent fasting once between now and your actual appointment time, right? All right, so just kind of like to kind of, before I pause for some questions, you know, whether you want to detox from, you know, the quarantine 15 or just lose those last few pounds, or your resolution isn't going, you know, got off track, your wheels fell off the wagon regarding that, or you want to be ready for your trip, or whatever it might be. Procrastination just puts us in a situation where it's more difficult to make changes. So I want to encourage you, if now is the time, to take advantage of that. So in a moment here, I'm going to just stick around for questions. So in the group chat menu or window, you can type whatever questions you have, and I'll happily answer those. So you can go ahead and do that now. I'm happy to answer those, so I'll stick around for a couple minutes. So just a reminder that I'll actually put in the website so everybody has that. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. All right, so So great question. I know you couldn't log in earlier, so fortunately I have recorded the webinar. So you can actually go to, it'll be up on our website, which is lifealignedwellness.com. It'll be up on our website in the next couple days. It is a password protected access. There is a code that you have to enter to get to the webinar library, and that code is capital LAWC, Life Aligned Wellness Center, LAWC. If you enter that in, the metabolic webinar will be up there in the next couple days. So there might be one that we did earlier on a similar topic, so you're welcome to head over there and poke around, see what you find. If you're ready to schedule for your opportunity, definitely go to lifealignedwellness.com and happily be able to meet with you and talk about your goals and what you've been struggling with and stuff like that. Absolutely. There is the code to the portal on our website. And then again, if you want to schedule, the word is webinar. Good. I realized I only sent the email, the website to one person. So let me make sure everybody has that. And then the code for the classes is that one. So cool. Any other questions for anybody? I swear, at least I think I'm a wealth of knowledge and happy to help in any way. So you are so welcome. So I'm so glad you joined us, and I'm proud of how well you're doing and all the changes you're making. So you're generating an amazing outcome for your family. So that's really great. Again, you're so welcome. So happy you guys could join us for this webinar. So exciting stuff. All right, so we'll wrap up for tonight. Again, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Please take action, make some changes, whether it's with us or not. But this is your chance. This is your life. You have the opportunity. You're in control. And I look forward to serving you in the future. Have a great rest of the night.